Hey everybody, Hipster username here. InvokeAI is excited to release version 2.1 of the app, and we're going to go through a couple of the features on this video, both from the WebUI as well as a couple of other things that'll be exciting for anyone who has been using the app and staying in touch with what's going on in the Stable Diffusion ecosystem. So let's get started. First feature of version 2.1 that we're going to cover today is the advanced prompting system. The advanced prompting system that's been implemented in 2.1 has weights, blends, cross-attention, and the unconditioning system that existed in prior versions of InvokeAI. While unconditioning existed in older versions, it's important to note that weights, blends, and cross-attention do change a little bit of the prompting syntax. And so older prompts might need to be updated in order to take advantage of these new features. But we're going to do a couple of quick examples and go through how they look, just so that you can kind of see how they work in action. So our first image here is a tall, thin man picking apricots, which of course everyone is excited to see change. I know I am. So the first thing we'll do is we'll add a couple of weights and just really make sure that we are getting some apricots. You know, there's not a whole lot on these trees. I know I want to see more. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a couple of pluses to that term. There's a couple of different ways that you can add weights. This is the easiest. It's just taking the term that you want and adding a plus or a minus sign to up weight or down weight. Another thing that you can do is you can actually bundle these terms together. So if we wanted to weight picking apricots as kind of a conjoined term, we can nest those inside of parentheses and add the pluses to the end. I can also nest inside of this and say I want to do kind of, a little bit extra on the apricots, but really, picking apricots as a whole is something I'm excited to see. Just to kind of keep it simple and make sure we don't get any monsters in the output, I'm just going to keep this down to the apricots, and we'll go ahead and invoke. So we can see we've got a couple more apricots now. Mission accomplished here. So while I like the image that we've generated here, I got all of the apricots I wanted. I'm really not digging the gentleman here. He's got an orange suit. He blends into the background. I can't really see his face, and what I do see of his face, I don't like. I think I made a bad decision here having a tall, thin man. I think I'm going to go ahead and add a tall, thin woman. So what I'm going to use is the swap command. And what the swap command does is uses cross-attention to swap the token of man with woman in the output. What it's going to do is this area where the man is right now is going to keep that kind of position for the image and the composition overall, but it's going to generate using the token woman. We'll see kind of what that looks like in just a second. So now we can see we've got a lovely woman here who is seemingly has an apricot for a hand, exactly what we were looking for. Definitely a super powerful tool. Now, this is a very basic usage of the cross-attentional control system. There are a couple of more advanced tools you can use, which control exactly where in the generation process this swap happens, as well as the freedom Stable Diffusion has to reshape the output. I won't go into depth in this video just for length, but take a look at the documentation in GitHub and you'll be able to see the full suite of tools you've got available to you. Since blends and unconditioning have existed in the past, we won't spend the time going over it in these release videos, but I do encourage you to check out the documentation and play around with the tools because they're extremely powerful. If you check it on the Discord channel, a lot of people are playing around with using unconditioning to really increase the quality of the output. So take a look. The next tool we'll talk about today is the Inpainting canvas. So up at the top of our selected image, I just hit the Send to Inpainting button and actually took that image and put it over into our Inpainting canvas. You'll notice I've got a nice red brush that is moving around the screen. This is my Inpainting brush. It's got hotkeys, so all of the tools in Invoke, if you are unfamiliar with these, have hotkeys. You can check these out at the top on the right. But the hotkeys are extremely useful in Inpainting because the brush size can be controlled directly from the hotkeys using the left bracket, right bracket. These can also be, this can also be controlled through the toolbar. But I really find it easy to poke around and really get into some fine details here using the brackets. So I commented earlier that, we had, a nice apricot hand here, and I'm really finding this something that I want to address. So, I'm going to go ahead and, mask this out and see if I can get a lady's clasped hands to fill in this tiny little spot, because I'm thinking we can do better with that. So we'll go ahead and invoke and see what we get. As always with, as always, we're probably going to need to try once or twice to see if we get something that's good. This one's that's not too bad. We could probably do better, so we'll give it just one more. Okay, I'm happy with this. I think we need to accept accept our quality here and move on. So I'll clear the mask. I like this one. I'm going to move this over to my Inpainting canvas because I want to kind of keep iterating on this one. And now I really want to try for a little bit more of a face here, because I'm not really convinced that's what we're looking at. So we'll go ahead and say a beautiful lady. We'll go ahead and invoke and see if we get something there. Well, I see it. I'm squinting. I'm looking. I'm going to try it again. We're going to try it just once, twice. Oh my. Hey, that's what we were looking for right there. So now we've got our face. I'm not quite convinced that CodeFormer would be able to see this and enhance it. So after that depressingly futile set of attempts, we're going to go ahead and accept our Inpainting results here. So we've kind of landed on something that is a little bit closer. What I've been using in the past few attempts is the Inpaint Replace option. This is something worth calling out. What Inpaint Replace does is it gives Stable Diffusion a lot of flexibility in filling in the area that you have masked. If this is off, it's going to act a lot more like image to image. So it'll reuse a lot of the red, green, blue layer and that color that's in the original image and trying to figure out what it's looking at. So now that we've kind of got this, more close resemblance of a face, I'm going to turn Inpaint Replace off. I don't want it, really adding a whole lot more or changing too much up. I want it to use what we've got here. I'm going to send this one to Inpainting. My mask is roughly the same. I just want to take a quick peek underneath it to make sure that we're not missing any details. I do think maybe I need a little bit more of this face here. So we'll just go ahead and add some there. I'll turn this mask color back up just to make sure that we can see it. And you'll notice a couple of other options up here as well that I won't show off, but you can play around with. So we'll go ahead and just bump this image to image up just a little bit, and then we'll try invoking once or twice and see what we get. That one's a little bit strange. That one is not quite what I was hoping for. Hey, this, I'll take it. I'll take it. This one, we're a little bit closer to it. I see a smile. We're a lot better off than when we started. So, from here to here, you can see the tools do have the ability to iterate towards greatness. I will let you imagine what greatness might look like for this image on your own. Now, what I've gone ahead and done is I've generated a larger image. So the one we were using previously is 512 by 512. This one's a 1024 by 1024. For those of you who aren't aware of this, Stable Diffusion was trained on images that were sized at 512 by 512. So what that means is it does a lot better at generating images in that size. If you've ever tried to generate a larger image without using the high-res optimization feature, you've probably gotten some weird stuff as a result. But what that means is when we're doing inpainting, the system does a lot better at inpainting areas that are 512 by 512. So when we find ourselves trying to inpaint a larger image, what we're going to want to do is turn on the Inpaint box. And what the Inpaint box does is it allows us to tell Stable Diffusion, generate an image within this box, and then inpaint in the area that the mask exists in. You'll notice that this bounding box is automatically sized in increments of 64 which means, it follows all of the Stable Diffusion rules that we know need to be followed. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to increase my brush size here, and I'm going to try to see if I can get a sun to fill in this spot. So we'll go ahead and do Inpaint Replace. We'll keep everything else in its on its settings. We'll go and give it a try. Now, I hate to say that this is the perfect Stable Diffusion example, but I have a hard time imagining how this could be better. This is exactly what I was looking for. Everything is perfect about this. One of the CLI enhancements in InvokeAI 2.1 is text masking. At this point in the video, you already know what inpainting is. Using the brush tool in the canvas or a photo editor, you can create a mask and pass that into InvokeAI to fill it in with a stable diffused output. What text masking does is allows you to avoid that by just telling Invoke what you want to mask in the CLI. We'll go ahead and give an example here. We've got a Japanese man in a light jacket output. That's kind of what we got here. You don't have to use an InvokeAI image. Any image will do. It's just like any other init image where you pass in the path. But for this example, we'll just use this. So in our original example, we had a gentleman in a jacket, but we were looking for something like, maybe a little bit more Sons of Anarchy-esque, and we want a leather jacket. So what we're going to pass in as our command is what we want to see inpainted. So in this case, leather jacket. We pass in the path of the inpainting initial image that we want to use. And we use the TM command, the text masking command, in order to tell it what we want to replace from the original image. So in this example, we told it we wanted it to focus on where there was a jacket already, and we wanted to replace that with a leather jacket. So we're selecting the region that we want to mask using the TM command, so jacket, and we're replacing that with leather jacket. So another couple of examples here. We keep that text mask command of jacket, but instead of passing leather jacket, we might pass in a padded jacket, a band t-shirt, tracksuit, whatever we want to see. It's going to inpaint that around that area where the jacket originally was. Now, let's say, for example, we wanted to keep the body the same, but we wanted to, maybe change up the face. We said we want to see a college kid. We pass in the initial image and we give it the text mask of head. And that's going to focus on that kind of head region, but it's going to kind of try to fit in a college kid on that. You can see a couple of other examples here as well. Bearded man, middle-aged woman, rock star with sunglasses. That's my favorite. But, of course, we might want to also replace the background. And in that case, you can actually just pass in the text mask of background. But in this example, we did have to dial up the strength in order to get good results. So play around with all of the settings and controls that you have available because it's not always going to be a one-shot output. Now, if you're having challenges with the text mask not selecting the area you want, you can debug it with the exclamation mask command. And what that's actually going to do is it'll generate 3 images showing the area selected, what would not be selected, and a black and white mask that would then be applied. And this is actually going to help you really tease out where is this going wrong if you're having any challenges with it. If you want to evaluate exactly where the text mask is picking up on a certain keyword that you're passing it, this is a good way to look into the details of that. Using the mask command, you can use the confidence setting in order to increase or decrease how aggressive the masking is going to be based on the term. So in this case, we reduced the confidence to 0.1. That gave it greater freedom to identify a nose, and we got a little bit of that in the mask. Now, if we wanted to actually inpaint with it, we would pass that back in directly to image and use that as the mask image for the inpainting. This is just about as terrifying as clowns normally are. Experiment with all the different options that are available to you in Invoke. You'll likely find a couple of different ways that you can use this. So after I finished the last recording and shared it with the team, they took it as a challenge to get model switching in 2.1, and now it's here. So if you go to the settings option, you'll see model switching is actually live right in the UI. All of the models that you've currently added to your config, your models.yaml file will show up here, and you can load and actively switch between them. So go crazy, add models, and have fun. We hope you're as excited for 2.1 as we are. As always, please join the Discord and give us feedback on where we can improve, how we can make InvokeAI better, and share with us all of the things you're using Invoke to create. Until next time.